Bible, I tithe, I give to other people, I'm trying to love other people, but there's just something holding me back. And the pastor's response was, well, there's a difference between doing good and being good. When was the last time you celebrated God's grace? Pastor, it's been a long time. I don't even know if I really ever have. And the pastor said, I'll make a deal with you. For 7 days, will you do what I asked you to do? For 7 days. Sure. And the pastor handed the gentleman a small metal rod. And he said, here's what I'd like for you to do. I want you to go to the beach. And I want you to write your sin in the sand with the rod. And I want you to keep writing until you can't remember any more sins. And I want you to work your way all the way around the island. It's only 3 miles around the island. And I want you to keep writing in the sand until you can't remember any more sin. And when you get stuck, I want you to take this envelope out of your pocket and read the list that it says as ideas for you to continue your list. And I want you to write until you are completely out of fresh sand. So the gentleman said, okay, and he headed to the ocean. His mind is racing that he's going to step up and write in the sand in front of the public, that he's going to confess his sin to God by having to put it out for everyone to see. As he came up to the beach, he started thinking of certain things, and so he went right to work and he wrote down the time that he cheated on a test in elementary school. He stole something from a neighbor kid named Kevin. There was a time that he intentionally broke his brother's game. There was a time that he lied. And then he remembered another time that he lied, and another time. And his list started to get really long. He remembered a time that he was envious of a neighbor. But that made him remember of a time in middle school, times in high school and college, and even guys and gals at work that he was envious of. And so he wrote all those names down. There was the one time that he broke the law, and so he wrote that down too. He stepped back and he looked at his list, and it was about 100 yards wide. And he was really proud of what he had done, and his back hurt a little bit. And he thought he was done, and then he remembered the thing about the note. And the first thing said, write down the times that you've said evil things against your parents. And he started to write. And then it said family. And he had to write some more. Co-workers, strangers. Write down a list of things that you've said evil against other church family members. Times of hatred and prejudice, even joking. And the next thing he knew, the sun was going down, and at the end of the first day, he'd covered about a quarter of a mile. What would you have written down? The second day, he went back and he saw his list still in the sand, and he picked up right where he left off, and the card said, write down the times that you influenced others to do things that were wrong. Write down all the times that you've denied Christ. Write down the times you've had grudges and times of unforgiveness. What would you write down? The third day, he went back out to the list, and it said, write down the names of the people that you've offended. Whose names would you write down? The fourth day, it said, write down all the times that you've made decisions that have hurt yourself. He had to write down some addictions that he had and some poor choices that he made, some things that he had not done. What would you write down? The fifth day, he went out and said, write down all the times that you've hurt your church by how you've lived and by what you've said and by people. that you've hurt? What would you write down? The sixth day, he went back out looking at his list that had now made its way almost all the way around the island. And it said, write down the times that you've hurt your family. Things that you've done that have injured your family. Your family's good name and your family's reputation. What would you write down? It was the end of the sixth day, and he was headed out for the seventh, glad that his little exercise was over. And he pulled out the card for day 7, and it said, write down all the things that you hope nobody ever finds out. What would you have to write? He was kneeling at the side of the ocean. His knees were bloody. His back was sunburned, and the metal stick that he had been whittled down to just a small twig. He began weeping and realizing all of his sin, looking at all the clear sand yet ahead of him. And he found himself standing at the feet of his pastor. And he said, sir, you've already made yourself all the way around the island. Twice. And the guy said, no, that's not possible. There's still all this clear sand. And the pastor said, that's because of the tides washing in and washing your sin away. When was the last time you have celebrated the fact that if you've believed in Jesus, your list has been erased? Because I could fill up an island, and a pretty good size island. This is why I worship. Because God loves me and He proves it every day.